Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us. In today's episode of Unveiling Shadows podcast, I'm speaking with Shantice, a brave single mother who has endured 5 years of targeted harassment. She has over 800 pieces of evidence. She bravely shares her story of being watched, stalked, and falsely portrayed. Despite all of these challenges, Shantice earned her MBA while caring for her 2 children, one of whom has epilepsy. Her background in communications and media showcases her resilience. Join us as we listen to her powerful journey and shed light on the reality of being a targeted individual. Welcome, Shantice.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's liberating.
Good. It is. It kind of has a freeing feeling about it, doesn't it?
Yes. It is.
Can you briefly introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and how you first encountered you were being coercively controlled and targeted?
Oh, well, a little something about myself. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Like you said earlier, I do a lot of media, journalism, all of that. I grew up in Atlanta, moved to Alabama. I earned my communications degree from Troy University. And then later on, I went to Colorado Tech and earned my master's in business. On journalism side of things, I've always been reporting, whether that's writing, whether that's news, radio, different interviews with mayors, governors, celebrities, you name it. I've done it. And in the midst of all of that, trying to raise my 2 daughters as a single parent. And yes, they're grown now. So yes, it's been a journey.
Right. I hear you. But you have your MBA now.
Yes. And I'll be going for my doctorates. Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations. That's a big thing.
Yes. Yes.
Especially to do while you're being harassed while doing it.
Correct. That's what I want to touch on the most. When this first started here, about 5 years ago, I was going through a divorce. It was a military divorce. And the first thing that I actually encountered was a captain pretty much telling me that there's cameras in my home. From there, it was pretty much jokes, people saying that there are bombs in my car, it has been very, very strenuous over the years. It all stemmed from false rumors and allegations of my ex-husband, to be honest with you. I never retaliated. I continued to hit the books. I was called everything from a drug addict to psychologically misconstrued. So I took it amongst myself to continue to take mental evaluations every other month by licensed psychologists. They're clearing me left and right. I'm taking drug tests left and right. Was never on drugs. It stemmed from someone who just simply didn't want to own up to his responsibilities in a marriage. And he tried to find the best option to get out of it, which was to make those false rumors. Some type of way I got on some radar. To be honest with you, I'm not sure who it's from or why. Since then, I moved from the area, and later on, I was electronically harassed, and I never understood why. You would have employers, I would be sitting in a meeting. My most recent employer, Mr. Walker, he would tell me things that I was doing in my house, the night before in a Zoom meeting, or what I was watching, or someone would say, hey, I would eat a piece of fish, and someone would say, oh, I love fish. Like, these things are starting to get terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible,
Yes. Yeah, so defamation of character is one of the items of being a targeted individual. And so is the eavesdropping, because I had a similar experience where they also called me a drug addict. I had to take random UAs when I'm not an addict. And they tried to get me put away in a mental institution for 360 days against my will. And I had to undergo 2 psychological evaluations as well. So I understand from that perspective, I can definitely relate to you. And obviously, it's still not over because we're in it. And when you and I had our very first phone conversation, the perpetrators were on our call initially, and then we had to hang up because it was like dispatch. I could hear them in the background, and I thought, this is not okay. And then you ended up confirming the next day via text that, yes, they were eavesdropping.
Yes, that is correct. It's been that way for the past 4 or 5 years. Anything that I say on my telephone, it is going to be repeated, whether that's in a meeting by an official, whether that's through somebody, just to let them, they want to let you know that, hey, I'm listening. If maliciously done, they would just listen in, or they would just, these people are letting me know, hey, I'm listening in. Hey, I see what you're doing on your computer screen. There's a mirror. Anything I do online is going to be repeated. It's going to be, it's a mirror on my devices as well.
Yeah. And because your husband was in the military, so how deep this stuff can go.
Yes, my ex-husband he's still in the military. He never apologized. He never really owned up or tried to set the record straight on anything. Instead, he pretty much covered up everything, blamed us for it, and we're continuing to live with this every day. Now, I wasn't supposed to make it this far, to be honest with you. I was supposed to have a nervous breakdown by now. I was supposed to be on drugs, strung out in the middle of the road by now. However, after putting all 2 and 2 together and knowing who I am, my upbringing, having faith in God, and just trusting myself, like, okay, when it first started, I'm like, okay, am I tripping? And then as it continued to transpire, I started recording it. I started taking pictures. I started printing it out. And I was like, okay, if I can print this stuff out and submit it as exhibits or display it, this is real. This is real. So that kept me in line with, okay. And I started bringing other people in. I started bringing my family members in. They were seeing everything that were being done. And then, before the divorce actually happened, I did see where he was pointing out and doing different things. And that's another story, but it's very real. And, you could blame hackers or you can blame all of these things, but for it to go on for 4 or 5 years, and I've never retaliated. I've had my car tire slashed. I have video evidence and people around to actually witness this. The car guy was like, hey, somebody literally slashed your tires. I released a book. The more I talked about it, the more they tried to intimidate me by talking about my looks or saying, hey, she's this, she's that, and the other. However, like I said, I'm getting ready to have a PhD next year. And not only that, I got a master's after the divorce or the separations. And when I first met him, I had an undergrad in communications. My record is proven. And so when I did actually submit this documentation to the judge in the exhibits, he was scratching his head like, wait a minute, 1 + 1 is 2. You're saying this woman is this, that, and the other. However, I see her interviewing mayors. I see her interviewing governors. I see her raising her kids. I lived a very public life. You can Google me.
Yeah.
So I've never hid anything. So, it didn't add up. Although, a couple of officials, they were pretty much saying that they can't, pinpoint who it is or charge them. However, it has to be more than one. I just know where the root cause of it came from. And when I started actually seeing these things happening on my device.
Right.
Mhm.
So did the judge dismiss the case then, or what
It was
happened?
a part. I actually won the case. They were trying to actually take my kids away after being a single parent for 15, 16 years at that point with, minimum help, and actually putting myself through school and actually making sure they had the best life possible. Like you see my kids, they're on cruises, they're at Disneyland, all throughout their life. One has epilepsy. So I was definitely working 12-hour shifts, before we had a car. I would walk to get get them from daycare. I would go to work, then I'll go to GD class, and then I go do journalism. I've been such a great mother throughout this entire time. And for someone to assassinate your character based off of the fact that you simply didn't want, to take accountability for your role in a situation, it started a windfall because, like I said, we're messing with government officials. Of course, they're going to actually believe your words and they're going to act on it. And, later on throughout, probably about 2 or 3 years, I started seeing that, some of the comments that were made, some of the people that they made original comments, they started retracting like, hey, 1 + 1 is 2. Like, she didn't do that. Like, people started actually realizing it was a lie, but the damage had already been done.
Right.
So, I did submit exhibits to a federal judge. I submitted exhibits to, another judge as well. But, like they said, they can't really do anything about it, because
they can't, because they're the ones that are doing it.
Yeah, so they're throwing rocks and then hiding their hand. But there have been several people that actually saw it. I mean, I've lost friends because of this. I've lost job opportunities because of the lies. I mean, you're talking about someone that never did drugs in their life. You're talking about someone that, I was even said that I was a prostitute. Like, it was terrible. And I'm celibate. I've been celibate for 4 years, So my thing is, it was so many lies and it was so detrimental. And like I said, everything that is done on my computer or on my phone, like you said, when you heard the echo, my mom called me the other day and she was like, okay, I'll call you from another line because I hear the echo, my mom and dad. This has been ongoing and so many people have actually witnessed it. Now, there was a couple of people that I've met throughout the past, friends, they actually discovered it, and some of them get scared and run away. Some of them be like, look, I'm here to help you, whatever you need, I got you, just don't even put nothing in your name no more. I just want you, and then you meet people like you who are like wholeheartedly like into it and really want to help. So we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of us coming out to speak out against them. And the more people that do, I think the more people will understand that they're targets too, because I have a feeling that a lot of people just think it's bad luck, but it's really not. And part of the tire slashing and doing stuff to your personal property is part of asset stripping, because then you have to spend money to go get that stuff fixed, and they just want to bury you one way or another. And I've experienced that too, and it's not okay. Like you said, you figured it out. You're like, this is not normal.
No. At first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having such bad luck. And then it seems like, I don't know who it is. I guess it's someone that's affiliated with them. I don't know. But throughout time, it's like, they would try to step in and help or create scenarios to help out. I don't know if they feel guilty, or what have you, because they actually see the evidence that, but this is like, at first it was bad luck. She's this, she's that, she's other, until, people started actually seeing that she's not that. And then, you would have a stroke of good luck, but then you'll still have that bad luck. So, my assumption is, that it's a lot going on behind the scenes. And like I said, if you can print it out, put it on the table, it's very real. If you can submit it as exhibits, it's very real.
Yeah, I have binders, so it's good that you started collecting information. That's why I tell people on some of the social media, like, start collecting stuff, because eventually the light will reveal itself, and hopefully we will bring down the darkness with all of our light. Yeah.
Like I said, the best thing is to not react. They want it very much in the beginning to cause a reaction. Like me and my kids would come home and our whole house was turned upside down, on a military base. Or we moved off of the base and, we'll come home, hot dogs on the floor. Stupid stuff, cabinets open.
And that you didn't leave those open. They were just open when you got there.
And all of them are pictures. And like I said, most of everybody knows because I made it public online every time it happened. I made it well aware of, okay, this is actually happening. You have people picking through our trash can, and I'm like, you have someone that has not even had a jaywalking ticket, so whatever you thought, it wasn't true. And that's how I winded up on the list. And common sense will tell whoever, look, she didn't do it. She's not a targeted individual. She's not a threat. However, I learned over time, especially looking at some of your material, that when you're outspoken, you already are a threat because you don't go with the, what others think. If something's wrong, no matter what, you're going to call it out. Yeah. And that's what I did. I called it out, and I've continued to go through this for the past 4 or 5 years. And my family has suffered tremendously because of this as well.
I know. I'm sorry. But you're doing the right thing. And by putting it on social media, it's even better. Even though people at the time that don't understand what a targeted individual is, they will eventually get it, hopefully. How did coercive control or the manipulation you were undergoing affect your mental health and daily life? Because you said you were going, and did those mental assessments, but obviously they didn't find anything. And obviously from me talking to you, you're very bright, you're educated, you're beautiful, and it's like, I think 67% of targeted individuals are women.
Very true. I can really agree with that. Yes, I do believe that. But why is it though? Why do you think?
I think because we're stronger. And I mean, in my personal opinion, I do believe that we're stronger mentally, and I don't really like to be told what to do.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
So how did it affect your mental health and daily life? You touched on some of those, but where were there specific moments or patterns that made you realize that something was wrong, like something very distinct?
Yeah. Well, most recently I would log in and I would see a rat or a mouse on my keyboard screen, or I see a block of cheese indicating a snitch, rat, all of those things. And, just like my friend, he was a sergeant in the military as well. He's like, how are you even a rat if you're just speaking up about abuse? And we just lost him recently. He was one of my co-hosts as well. But, he was always with me through the end, in the beginning. But I've had a lot of people, that was the most recent. I would wake up or I would log into my computer. There's a rat on there. There's a mouse. Like I said, you have, some employers, or you have some team leads harassing by saying different things that I've done in my house, or, they would say this, that, and the other when I know I didn't share with anyone.
Exactly.
At first it started, I was like, okay, something is off, when me and my mom, we were going to have a phone conference with some officials, and they told me exactly what I did on the phone or said on the phone the night before. So now it's becoming an issue because now how it's affected me is because I have to have a plan A, B, C, and D now. I just can't go off of one. It's hard for me to actually, get online anymore because of this. This will change your world. This will change your life. You have
Yeah.
no privacy. I have constant people trying to catch me in lies, or, even if I submit 400 pieces of documentation, they still try to make something that is not.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is not life. This is not how it's supposed to be. And like I said, like you said, I've taken several mental evaluations. I've, undergone so many different struggles and challenges in my life. I've written several articles. Like, how much more do you need to, how much more? But to get to the core of it, it has, like I said, nowadays I have to have a plan A, B, C, and D, because every day you wake up, you know that, okay, it's going to be somebody that's been contacted or told something where it's going to try to shift your whole life and not be, stable.
To try to knock you off. Yeah. And to break you, basically, is what they want. They want to break us mentally. But that's a good suggestion, though. I like that. Having multiple plans, in case something goes awry, that you can actually navigate in a different way.
Yeah. And after a while, like I said, it's been 5 years now. So after a while, I kind of, just like they studying me, I study them. I'm a nerd. I love reading. I love researching. I try to find an understanding or the intentions behind an act versus the act itself. I try to find out the why and where did it come from. So after doing research and actually understanding how they operate, I started actually understanding or learning their behavior too. So it's beginning to be a little bit more predictable on how, they're going to actually try to throw something my way. So that's why I was like, after the third year, I was like, well, why don't they just try to do something different? Because this is like, let's try to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this is insane. I've had blackmail, like, during some of the court proceedings a couple of years ago, the DA, he was at my throat at first. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then until he actually did research and he was like, oh, Your Honor, you don't know who this is? This is Lady Flame right here. She did actually go to school. She did actually interview these people.
And she now has her PhD. And yeah.
Yeah, but at first he was getting ready to go in. He started naming some stuff that was in my email. And I'm like, okay, now I know I'm not tripping. So when he started naming some stuff in I guess a mediation meeting before we got to the judge, he threw it out there as an intimidation tactic, and I'm like, okay, I'm not scared because I just still didn't do nothing,
Correct.
And so as the trial went on or the court went on, he pretty much dropped that intimidation tactic and started actually conversing with me, talking to me on the phone, talking to my children. And I didn't even know he did research on me until he actually went in and he was in the court of law. And he was like, yeah, the judge, this is her. So he changed his whole perspective on, he stopped participating in it,
Good.
And he started actually advocating. And so that's when I knew it was really real.
Good. So that kind of, maybe, I don't know how long ago that was, but one of the questions I have here is, what steps did you take to start your healing journey? But I feel like that would be a step in your healing journey, just to have someone actually realize that is in the courtroom to say, she's not what these people are portraying of her, and they've been committing defamation of character, which should also be a criminalized crime.
It's supposed to be. Upheld. What they used to do online is, when I first found out, what this was, at first I didn't know. I was just going about my life because I don't do tit for tat. I don't retaliate. I've never been that type of person. But when I first saw it online, I had people copying my actions. I'll pose a certain way online, they'll pose a certain way online. I do a project and they'll do the same exact project. And I've learned in the 48 Powers of Law, or even at war, when you copy somebody behavior, it's a form of humiliation or disarm. So I've already known that, okay, when I've caught when I actually picked up on it, I'm like, wait a minute, what the world is this? Like, why are they doing this? Like I said, I'm always the person to ask why. Why are they doing this? So we can get to the bottom of it. Let's have a powwow conversation. Do what we need to do and everybody move on. Obviously, like I said, there were some unspoken truths that were spoken, and that is the root cause. Instead of people coming to ask me for themselves, hey, this occurred and did that occur? And that's how I became a targeted individual.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think, to a certain aspect that you have to get a little bit pissed.
I'm very pissed. I would tell you that now. But they painted me as this like outrageous monster. And so I knew that if I went into this situation and continued to go into this situation,
if you lost your shit, your credibility would go out the door.
Yeah. So
I know.
Whatever they did for 5 years, I just continue to collect evidence. So it makes them look like the bully, which they are. It makes them looks like they continue to harass me. They make themselves look guilty and they expose themselves.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was painted as erratic, this crazy person. However, like the judge said, and matter of fact, another federal judge, I had actually had a lawyer at this point, but he was pretty much saying, it's not. So 2 different judges, a federal judge and another state judge, was pretty much saying, it doesn't make sense. But it was so much evidence compiled against what they were doing. So, but like, yeah, it does piss me off. It does. However, having faith in God and just knowing that, okay, I'm not tripping, and to meet people like you to actually acknowledge the pain that we go through every day. It's ridiculous how another human being would do that to another human being.
Correct.
I've never seen anything like this.
I would never do anything like this to anybody either. But I think like the people that are doing it are like, they're behind a desk somewhere, they're emotionally removed from it. And then they would also have to be psychopaths.
Yeah.
So they have no conscience.
Yeah. And what they would do is they would go out in public and just, try to clean up their image or, appear as this perfect person. Then you would go home and look at monitors or, a mirror of somebody's phone or, hack into their internet or see what they're doing. That is a psychopathic situation. And eventually you will be exposed. You never know who's watching you. And so, like I said, this is when you first, encounter this and you're like, okay, am I going crazy? And you let it slide for a couple of months. And then you start bringing people in, other sets of eyes, and be like, are y'all seeing this too? And when they start saying that they see it too, then, it's actually happening. So,
yeah. So now we're going to talk about boundaries, because you've been placing some boundaries, I think, with your ex-husband. And what advice would you give someone that might be going through a similar situation? I think it's harder for women to set boundaries. I think, we try to be nice, in fact, too nice sometimes, I feel like. But what advice would you give someone on setting boundaries?
Well, actually, I ironically met a young lady, I want to say about a month ago, and we were just talking about your show. Yeah, she's going through the same thing. And I was like, okay, you really need to meet her, because but she's going through the same thing. Her ex was a doctor, and, she has a lot of information because they live together, and he's trying to ensure that. So, same situation. However, the advice that I would give is to definitely have a plan A, B, and C. When you start hearing things that you've done the night before, for me, if I meet somebody and they start actually, buying into whatever someone told them or mimicking what I do or something like that, I just immediately just dismiss them. Like,
Good.
I just dismiss them. I have a good friend that I met when this first started. His brother is a cop. I think he said his brother is a sheriff or something like that, but he was one of the only people to tell me, out of all of my friend groups or what have you, when it first started, he was the only person to actually tell me, look at my phone and look at your phone. I sent you a message today. It's being routed to another server. You need to check that. Like, we were supposed to meet downtown, and I'm like, I didn't get any message. He was like, look. So we started comparing, and that's when he started telling me about mirroring, how your messages are interfering. And, he was like, I called you the other day, and it sounded like an echo and all that. So for the advice that I would give people is to just pay attention. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. It is really happening. Don't let anybody tell you you're crazy. And, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. You have to be mentally strong for this because, like you said, they try to break you down. And then for some reason, bring you back up and then break you down again. It's like they're playing God or something. I don't know. They get a kick out of it. But you only have one God. Just understand that you only have one God and know that no matter what, like I said, I had weight gain because of this, because I fell into a depression, because I didn't know why. I was going through the divorce, and then I was being hacked, and then my love life was being blocked, rumors. Then I had to, try to defend myself with the state and government, in courtrooms. Obviously, that worked out, and I'm grateful for that. So it's been a lot. My advice would be to continue to know yourself, pray, set boundaries with people. If it's not right, and it doesn't look right, just cut it off because it's going to be just cut it off completely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had to do that a few times. I mean, obviously I had my whole inner circle wiped out, but even recently there were friends that were turning against me. And I think, basically they were being mind controlled, and, they'll get into their heads and make the shit up about me. And I'm like, that never happened. And I didn't do anything wrong here, but you guys, I don't have time for the drama. And so I just block their numbers, and I just don't have time to deal with it. We have enough to deal with just getting through every single day that we don't need to add more stuff to our plate. Going back to your celibacy for 4 years, and I understand that, because it's really hard to trust someone after everything that we have been through, right? So there's some betrayal trauma and just like trauma in general going on. But I think that's great advice.
Like when I started hearing about, oh, she's a prostitute, I'm like, oh, I've been celibate. Nobody has actually came and said, hey, I've been intimate with her. Nobody can say that. Right. And I'm very proud of that. And it allowed me to grow and actually concentrate. And like I said, I don't, to the extent of, the hearing voices, mind control, I don't encounter that. What my main thing is when they electronically hack, and electronically do things to my phone and my internet and my emails. And like I said, I've had people to say, yeah, there are cameras in your house. There you go. How much more proof you need?
You're right. They can be the size of a pinhead. They can be the size of just a pinhead. That's how small these cameras are today. Yeah. And so, I've had similar situations where I went to a doctor and he's like, well, you can talk to people about this, but they're going to think you're crazy. And I'm like, I never said that to you. And how the hell do you know that?
Right. I'm pretty sure I've heard some stories from different people, whether that was politicians, law, regular people, and you'd be surprised how much of this happened. They're just scared to actually speak out because, one, they don't want to lose their jobs. 2, they don't want to be on any type of radar and they feel embarrassed about it. Or 3, they feel like they don't have a voice. Yeah, and when I first started speaking out about it, after someone blatantly said, who was an official, pretty much said, yeah, we got a camera in your house. Like, when I started speaking out about it, I started receiving harassment. So, hey, I pretty much agree, with some of the people that don't want to say anything, because at the end of the day, you are going to get harassed because you are, the percentage of people that actually would say something. And, that's just how it is. The First Amendment, however, is not really freedom of speech anymore. It's not really, because
it's not. We don't have any freedom until we have privacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought, if I'm already a target and the person that I cared most about is dead, which is my daughter, then sorry. I have nothing to lose at this point. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm just going to start having people on my show that know their targets too, because I knew that I wasn't alone, which is why I'm doing this. Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. My condolences, definitely. But that's what I said earlier. You're the perfect person because you're articulate. You're a sound mind. You can't say, oh, this person is crazy. Like, no, this is really happening. And we don't really know the cause of it. And it's not any hate. It's not any, in my case, it's not any, she just likes the military. No, it's just one person who started a rumor, and it branched from there. My sister served, my grandfather served, I wanted to serve, my daughter was supposed to serve. So it's not anything. I have friends that's still serving, so it's none of that. It's the fact of someone putting something out there, and it puts you on a radar, and whether that's whistleblowing, whether that's actually speaking the truth on some things, it definitely does.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the vaccination?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Because in in my 3 other prior podcasts to this one, we all did not get the vaccination. Mm-hmm. And I think that actually does have something to do with being a targeted, because I wouldn't comply. But sometimes it's like you ask the why and then you just can't come up with an answer.
Yeah, like my friend said, like I said, he was he got arrested, but he followed the case and he followed the story. He was military, very high ranking. But what he said is, Flame, you got to stop asking them why. What can they do other than behind the computer screen or try to mess up you? She was like, once you start asking them why, you can never understand the train of thought of other people on why they do certain things. And I was just like you. I always want, that's why I'm a great journalist, because I'm nosy. Like, I want to know why. Why? I'm very nosy. And so, that's with any story. I want to know the why, the intentions behind an act before I actually persecute or try to figure out, what. But in this case, there's no real reason. It's not a why. It's a rumor, and you spoke up. Somebody probably spoke up about something, and you became targeted. And that's the society, I guess, that we live in. We don't have a freedom of speech.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could go back to your past self, when it first started happening, what piece of advice would you give yourself and why? Is there anything that you wished you would have collected or done differently when it first started?
That's a great question. My advice to myself would be not to believe it. Of course, you have a single parent, at that time going through a divorce, was separated, and you're actually believing what's on your screen, or you're actually believing the jokes that people are saying. My advice to myself would be, don't believe it, because it took me a long time with people actually, like I said, having great friends in high places where they're actually looking at what's going on. They're like, now, if the mob was going to come get you, they would have just got you by now. Like, those were the different pranks that were continuing to happen. I wouldn't believe it, because me being the person that I am, having the soft heart that I have, and just at that time being open to face value of things like 1+1 is 2. I love you. You're supposed to love me, or you treat this person right, they don't treat. I was that type of person then. I had rose-colored glasses, to be honest with you. And so I was like, okay, well, they said it's a bomb in my car. Oh my gosh. Or, I would come back to my computer screen and something would be typed on there that I didn't type. And I would complete, I would complete a paper for school and come back. The whole paper is deleted. Not believing those things. That's what, I would want to change. Not believing that it can harm you, basically, is what I'm saying, because it can't harm you. It can just make you very stressful, worried, make you appear unstable because they're doing it in the background. However, like you said, you get that screen recorder on there, you take pictures, you present it in a way, and you continue to go about your life, the people will pretty much see, evidently that, okay, she is being hacked. This person is going through this. Now, whether or not they would ever be able to understand it, a whole different ball game, because unless you've been through it, you will never understand it.
I agree with you, because I will never, ever be the same person that I was. I will definitely not ever be as naive as I was. And it has, made me a little more rigid in some of my relationships, to keep a closer knit of people around me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the targeted community needs to hear the stuff, and hopefully having you on here and you having the courage to come on here and speak about what the electronic harassment, the stalking, the getting into your information will help other people speak out against it as well.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully. And like I said, you're not alone. There's several people that like I said, I meet all types of people from different walks of life. Some of them do have conversations where it's very confidential with me. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are experiencing some of the same things, but they will not come forward, and that's okay, But, until they do, it'll be a breath of fresh air for them. But definitely, just speaking about it, because it's not right. You have the right to privacy. You have the right to live your own life, whatever religion, whatever sexuality you have, whatever you want to do on this planet, you're supposed to be able to do it in the privacy of your own home. And yeah, no matter what happens, like, if something goes wrong or if something you feel that is not right, you should be able to do a whistleblower. You should be able to go, to whatever, to voice your opinion about it without retaliation.
correct.
That's how it's supposed to be. However, it's one-sided. It is, like I said, people believe rumors. Let's try to humble her. How are you going to humble somebody that's already humbled? Like, I have had humble beginnings. Like, I've been in group homes. I've slept in cars. I've been homeless. This is as a child. I've been left, without, I've been a single parent. How can you humble somebody that has already been humbled in life? It's not about that. I've never thought of myself as being anybody other than who I am. And I'm sorry if they got the misconception wrong of a rumor of whoever told them that I was something different. However, I'm not. When you meet me, I'm the most sweetest person. I'm the most kindest person. I will give you my last. I'm that type. I will trust your words. That's who I am at my core.
Yeah.
And for someone to say a couple of things to twist that around, that's the most hurtful part of it all.
Of it, I know. Yeah,
Yes.
It is hurtful, because then it's like they don't really know you. They don't know your core being. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe being a targeted individual is one who knows themselves, who's self-confident, who already dealt with trauma at a really young age. Mine was 5 when mine happened. And then obviously when you go through life, the trauma just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding until you get to a point where they unleash the tigress, which is what they did to you and I. They unleashed the tigress. So if they think they're going to take me down, they're not. And you're an attractive, independent, outspoken, successful woman. And I think a lot of times those types of women are targeted too, because they know that they're going to stand up and speak out.
That's a sad thing about it, though. Early on, I was being told I was called ugly, fat, like just trying to tear me down. I'm like, what is that? Okay. But I was 330 pounds already on television. I lost 220. By that time I was 369 already. So as a plus size woman, I was already on television, radio. I was already in school. I was married at the time, and I was loved greatly, in a previous marriage. And so I'm like, you calling me fat, that doesn't matter to me. You talking about whatever doesn't matter to me. I've already been through this, So to actually do this to one woman, and it takes so many other people or a person behind a screen to do it, it's ridiculous. To one woman. Like, I don't belong to any large groups. I work with a lot of different people, but I don't have a big family. I'm not like in large organizations. So for you to pick on one woman and feel like you're winning is terrible.
Yeah.
It shows your weakness, because in chess, you don't pick on people, or you don't play people or an opponent that has a disadvantage to you.
Yeah.
You are able to see my entire life. You're able to hear, you're able to look online, but I'm not able to do that. So right now I would be the weakest, because you have access to my life. So how are you winning if that's not a win? That's bullying.
That is bullying. You're right. That is exactly what it is. Or coercive controlling, coercion using the force or threats to persuade, or control uses the power to influence or direct behavior. And both of those are toxic. If you put them together, that's exactly what the, establishment is doing to us today. And there are a lot of people that need to wake up, because it's not good.
It's not. It really isn't. And like I said, everyone deserves privacy. Everybody deserves peace. Everyone deserves these things. And like I said, word of the advice to anyone that is suffering with this or has endured this is, no, you're not crazy. Like I said, I've taken 5 or 6 mental evaluations. No, I've never done drugs. I've taken so many drug tests. Like I said, I'm getting ready to have a PhD. No, trust yourself. Even without all of that, even if I did not do those things, I still would trust myself and trust God.
Yeah.
Know who you are before.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was going to be my next question. Like, what inspiring message could you give to someone or give to other targeted individuals to basically tell them they're doing a fucking great job?
Yes, you are. Now, there's a couple of Facebook groups online that I joined, and they're targeted individuals as well. And you'd be surprised. Like you said, same thing is going on in their lives as well. The most inspirational thing that I could actually say that helped me, throughout the years, is to enjoy your life. Because no matter what, just know that you have God. If you, at one point, I got, especially in the early stages, when I actually started picking up on it and actually seeing how some of my friends was moving, and all, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I became obsessed with, okay, did you see that? I brought my mom a stack of photos, the same photos that I brought to the judge, and he was looking through it like, really, this happened? Like, it becomes excessive because it's like, y'all don't see this happening? This is actually happening. And to know someone that knows it's happening, which is my ex-husband, then, it's a double hurt. My advice would definitely be, don't let it consume you. Still go out, accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Yeah.
The best way that you can. It's very hard, of course, knowing that, okay, somebody is seeing what you're doing, but try to live a good life, because stress can kill you. Anxiety can kill you, Yeah. And you don't want 3 or 4 years to pass and you have all of this evidence. That's great. But you could be married again. You could be having babies again. You could have a business, or you could use your story for a platform like you're doing, to help others. Don't get so consumed in the pain of it to the point where you stop living. Continue to live and continue to trust yourself. You're going to have people that's going to not want to talk to you no more. Guess what? Some of those same people that didn't talk to me 4 years ago, they're coming back around now, because they're seeing now. And now I don't want to talk to them, So
you're like, you didn't believe me the first time, so you're out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, my best advice to you is to continue to live. That's what my mom says. She's, every time something happens, I got a login attempt on Facebook from the area in which it started, and I live probably about 100 miles away. And I show my mom. She's like, "This is like a Lifetime movie story. Like, what's going on?" Like I said, trusting yourself and just continuing to live, because you have a life. Some of this you have to put in God's hand, and He will reveal it. Trust me. He has revealed it several times over. Like I said, I was sitting in a federal courtroom, and my ex-husband was trying to press charges on me and take me away from my children, knowing that I was a single parent. And the judge was like, look at all of this. Like, does he know? And, my lawyer stood up. He was like, no, they're trying to paint a picture of Miss Glinsey of somebody that's just rude and just disrespectful. No, she's working on an MBA. That was at that time when I was just working on it. She's working at MBA. She raised her kids. She gave her husband, pretty much her life, and the judge was like, okay, case dismissed. Get this out of my courtroom. I don't even know why y'all even brought this to me. So, like I said, living your best life that you could possibly live is going to outshine any lie, any rumor, but how does it stop? I don't know. I know I texted you the other day. I was like, when does this ever end?
I know.
I don't know. I don't know how much they have to see. I don't know how much you have to endure for it to stop.
Yeah.
I honestly think it will stop when someone is held accountable.
I agree with that.
That will set the tone. Like, if one person from one case is held accountable, for their actions. I've seen online where a couple of them, people were hired and, that were ex-cops or whatever. They were hired to stalk an ex-wife or a girlfriend online, and they were indicted and they caught felony charges. But we need more cases like that. That's the only way it's going to stop, because it's going to strike some fear in these people that's doing it, because no matter what, it's wrong.
Correct. Yeah. I think that's perfect advice. Find joy in your life. I agree with that, because I don't call it paranoia, because people would call me that. They're like, you're being paranoid or whatever. And I'm like, no, I use the term hypervigilant. And hypervigilant just means that you're aware of your surroundings. You're going to record the stuff that you need to record for safekeeping, or print off, or take a screenshot of. And then you're going to move on the best that you can to do stuff that you enjoy doing. I think it's a beautiful message, Shantice. I think you hit it right on the head. And enjoy the moments that you can. For sure.
Yeah, of course. And paranoid is something totally different. Paranoid is, oh my gosh. Paranoid, that's what that is. when you're being cautious of someone actually telling you this is happening, you're being cautious. That's something totally different. And with your screenshots and photos, you're protecting yourself.
Yes.
Because you don't want anyone to say, oh, this is just made up. You can't make up a picture. You can't make up a screenshot. This is actually happening.
Correct. I learned through this process to turn the location services off on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple times a day, I'll turn my phone on airplane mode so that if I turn it on airplane mode, it'll get off the tower that it was on and it will connect to another cell phone tower.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that probably about 3 or 4 times a day, turn it on airplane mode, and then I'll turn it back on. I'll leave it on airplane mode for maybe a minute, because if you keep hopping from node to node or cell phone to cell phone tower, it's going to take them a minute to hook back up to find you.
Yeah, I noticed that one night I was trying to text you, and then I was like, the picture is not coming through. And you was like, try this. And I tried it and it worked. So, yeah, most definitely the airplane mode works, the network resets. Usually, more than likely, like you said, it's network. And don't be surprised, to some of the people out there, you do have friends that know about it, who's actually participating in it. When this first started, I had a dear friend of mine, and it was so heartbreaking, but I had a dear friend of mine, and we were talking, and all of a sudden she caught wind to what was going on through whatever source. And, the last message I got from her is, no, I don't want to buy a puppy. So they tried to make it seem like I was actually texting or corresponding with them, and they didn't know who I was. So just leave them out of it. And that's the most hurtful part. Like I said, it wasn't until one friend told me, look, this is actually happening. This is actually going on. And I admire him to this day. We talk every other day because he was the only person out of a lot of people out of my friend group to actually tell me what was going on. And after him, so many other came, and they started actually, telling me what's going on. Actually scanning my devices and actually saying, yeah, your devices are hacked. I had my friend out, he was an IT specialist for the state, lived in Washington. I went up there, he actually scanned everything. He's like, yeah, this is actually happening. I don't know how, who, or what, but this is actually happening. So just be mindful, you guys, and just, continue to live, and don't let this become your world. Like my mom say all the time, still go out, go live your life, do all of those things, because you only have one.
That's lovely. I want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. And I've been looking forward to this for like a month, because we booked it out so far in advance. And so I just want to give you my heart and tell you thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, you are absolutely amazing. Like I said, I'm standing behind this movement, your show, everything about it, 100%. You are a great person. When I came across your videos and your, information, I'm like, oh my gosh, finally. It was like a breath of fresh air. Somebody is actually speaking on a major platform about this. It was such a breath of fresh air, and it was liberating. So please just continue doing what you're doing, because it helps tremendously.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm proud to be a part of the movement, and I hope to reach other people, and I hope you reach other people too. It sounds like you are. So yes. I want everybody to remember to stay strong, and you've got this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone, and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.